the best thing about them is that they'll become sophomores one day. So hopefully that'll happen for those guys.
Darrin, even though he can't play this year, do you see some leadership qualities in Murphy Holloway and how he's reacting with the other guys?
Well, I think the biggest thing with Murphy is that he's a terrific talent that brings great effort and energy every time he steps on the floor. And again, he's the kind of player in terms of how he plays that is really what we want our team to look like. He's a guy that just is out there flying around and making stuff happen. And I think the exciting thing about him is he's got a year to get into the system, to continue to improve his already pretty impressive body and definitely improve and maybe expand his game a little bit. And so we're really happy to have him and glad that he's a part of our program.
Talk about the versatility and how important it is in the SEC to have guys like you've got now that can play multiple positions and give you options with multiple lineups.
I think that's a great point. And again, I think when I say I'm excited, that's one of the things I'm talking about. No, we don't have a guy that I know he's getting us 20 every night, which is a luxury. There's no question. And at the same time, we've added guys like Malik Cook, Sam Muldrow, I think now as a senior even more, that at the 4 and 5 spot, R.J. Slauson, if he's playing at the 4, can really step out and shoot the basketball. For example, when you talk about versatility, sometimes that's even more dangerous in terms of a team preparing for you and being able to defend you than just having to shut down that one guy. And so I think our versatility is going to help us in that way collectively, but I think it's also going to help us defensively, because we'll be able to do some stuff because our big guys are quick and athletic, and our guys that maybe aren't as big are still very long and athletic. And I think there's a certain element of toughness with these guys that will continue to develop that's going to be a strong suit for us as time goes on as well.
With so many freshmen and sophomores in the roster, do you expect to experience a little bit from growing pains? Obviously, right off the bat, you got to go to Wisconsin, you got to go to Columbus, you got to go to Clemson, and all this. So even the non-conference portion of the schedule is not going to be easy at all.
Absolutely. But as a coach, growing pains is more than just winning and losing. It's just kind of getting them to do what you want, and understand what's expected, and all of those things. And so that will absolutely be I think a continuing process for us. But again, that's all part from our perspective, not only building a team, but building a program. And that's why I go back to feeling like we really feel like with some things we're kind of at square one with some of that stuff, because we haven't been able to build on some of it because we had to change how we played or whatever it might be last year. But I don't think there's any question that's the case. But I also think these are young men that want to be in those situations and want to play in those games. I mean, they were recruited with that in mind. We want to play in those games and we want to be in that mix and in that company. And so I think they'll relish that challenge regardless of how they perform with it.
What have you seen out of Bruce so far? I've heard there's been some excitement just watching him play this summer.
Bruce is one of those rare young people that he's got a certain quality about him as a person, but especially as a player, more so as a person, but as a player that people are better when they're playing with him. They just are. And not just because of how he plays, but he brings a certain confidence and stability, I think, to the guys around him, and maybe makes them feel like they can play at a higher level too. He's tremendous at finding people, sharing the basketball, and getting people involved, and obviously with his athleticism, he can get the ball wherever he wants to go with it as well, and score pretty good himself too. And so I think some of those qualities are going to be the ones that stand out. And probably my favorite one about him is all you got to do to get him to do something is tell him he can't do it. And I identify with that a lot too. So I think we're going to get along pretty good.
How much does his strength help? I mean, he's a pretty strong kid for a short kind of point guard, isn't he?
No, he's a special athlete. There's no question about that. He's got tremendous strength, speed, quickness, balance, explosion. Pick the athletic category, and he's got it. There's no doubt. He's a special athlete, and so I think that's why, for him, maybe similar to Lakeem last year, he'll be the most ready in that group to perform consistently and do it well, just because physically he's ready to do that.
With the ball not going through one player as much this year, can you talk about how different the offense is going to look? And is there any particular on the stat sheet every night that you want to see?
Well, I think we've got to be a team that shares the ball well and has a good assist number because of not having that one guy As I said earlier, I think it's one of those things where you don't have that luxury of knowing you can go to an individual, but it also, in some ways frees you up to do some more things and get some more guys involved and maybe use maybe not element of surprise, but where the other team doesn't know exactly what you're doing all the time. I don't think anybody in this room was fooled last year when Devin got the ball and did something with it. I know the best teams I've been a part of, Final Four team in Marquette, Sweet 16 team in Western Kentucky. We had 2 or 3 guys that were capable of that, and one might have been better. Obviously Dwayne Wade was pretty good, but we had a couple other guys that people were pretty worried about leaving open for a shot or having the ball in their hands as well. And I think that's something that we can develop with this team, which for me is exciting.
With all the athletes, then could there be more transition? You're trying to get out and run maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, I think we've got to be good in transition offensively for sure. I think we've got to be good on the offensive glass, without question. I think we've got to be strong defensively and create some offense off of our defense, which we hadn't really been able to, didn't get to do it all last year, and only in parts early on. That's something that I think to play to our strengths that will hopefully be good at as well.
Do you think there's a decent chance you guys wind up playing in the toughest division in college basketball?
Yeah, but we could argue that every year. I think, it's just it's the SEC, and the East has been terrific, and I think this year will be no exception. I don't know, and everything's on paper at this point, but there's not that Kentucky on paper that from a sheer talent standpoint is clearly head and shoulders above everybody else. But man, there's a lot of really good teams with a lot of talent. There's teams like Florida and Georgia that returned 2 or 3 really key guys that performed well, and so I don't think there's any question that it is. But again, as a competitor, I think that's what you want to be a part of, and I think that as we tell our guys all the time, if we can be good in our division and win at home and take care of business there and find a way to compete, then it means we can play with anybody in the country.
What are your expectations for Sam as one of the veteran guys coming back? Is he going to have to do something a little special for you to lead the young guys?
Yeah, Neil, I don't think Sam's going to lead the young guys. That's not Sam's personality at all. Sam's a guy that comes and brings it every day. He's good about that and does well with that. He's a good teammate. I think he's well liked and he's good in the locker room. But he's not a rally the troops or leader kind of guy. I don't think that'll happen. But I do think for us to be our best, we need our best Sam Mojo every night. But quite honestly, I thought that was the case last year. Again, talking about having that one special guy versus the balance. We knew Devin could be terrific every night, and pretty much was. But we were really much better and in more games and won games when Sam was really good. And again, I don't think that means a certain number or his numbers have to increase. But when he consistently performed and he was a presence in the game with his defense, with his finishing around the basket. I think it made us a better basketball team. I think that's definitely the case this year as well. And I would expect that since he's done that from sophomore to junior, or freshman to sophomore to junior, that he would do a junior and senior as well.
Darrin, do you think maybe